Hi, everyone. David Sada here from skygems.ca. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about investing in gemstones. I'm doing this in an interview format with a journalist friend of mine, Jessie. Absolutely brilliant. She's a brilliant journalist, and I feel really lucky to be able to work with her on that. So, without any further ado, here is Jessie Davis.
Well, thank you for that kind introduction, and thank you for joining me. So I guess I'll start by asking just who you are and how you've come to be talking to us about investing in gems today.
So, as I said at the intro, I am David Sod, and I've been in the gem business on my own for 21 years. I've been doing it since I was a kid with my dad, third generation in gems and jewelry. And yeah, that's my background in gems. So I personally, of course, believe in gems as a investment. It's where the bulk of my money is. But I do need to give the viewers here a quick disclaimer. I'm not an investment advisor, and I have no way of knowing what your personal financial situation is and whether gems are a suitable investment for you. So I definitely encourage everybody to, do your own due diligence, do your own research. And I do find it's best to get the opinion of a professional in these matters.
And now, what do you mean exactly when you talk about investing in gems? How does it work?
So, I mean, any investment, not any investment, but most investments, you're buying something with the hope of selling it for more money than you bought it for at a future date. And, that's whether you're talking about gold or the stock market or property, real estate, it's all the same, same kind of thing. And just really basic. It is not, it's not anything too complicated. So you're going to buy gems today with the hope that in 10 or 15 or 20 years you're going to be able to sell them for a profit.
Okay. And so, why would you invest in gemstones over something like, say, stocks or a mutual
So
fund?
so this is something that people will ask me about all the time, and the answer is always the same. You're not investing in gems instead of something else. You're investing in gems as well as something else. So, investing in gems is about diversifying your portfolio. I don't recommend people put, the maximum anybody should have, unless you're a gem dealer, is about 20% of your portfolio in gems. And that is really stretching it. I'd say that that's for somebody who's young, right, under 30 years old, can go that high. Normally, I'd say 10% is probably a better number, and even as low as 5% of your total investment portfolio, and that's talking about your stocks and your bonds and your real estate and your mutual funds and ETFs, everything, physical gold and art and whatever else it is that you're investing in. So definitely, you're not investing in gems instead of something else. Else, you are investing in gems to diversify your portfolio.
Okay. And so, in terms of a gem investment, are we talking about jewelry, actual pieces that you might wear in the meantime, or individual stones that you would keep tucked away for safekeeping? What does it look like when you're investing in gems?
So the real answer is either. When we're making jewelry for people, I generally like to sell. I mean, what we sell are generally higher quality gems. So what we're selling, for the most part, are suitable for investment. If it's a small, like 7 by 5 millimeter oval amethyst, that's absolutely not a investment kind of gem. But even when you're getting into the nicer garnets and whatnot, you are looking at something that has value to it, and humans have understood as having value to it since, I mean, the oldest known jewelry I think is about 135,000 years old now. So, and there's gem finds, 35,000 years old. So people have understood gems to be precious and rare and valuable for a long time. It's an interesting question of whether people should be investing in single gems or pieces of finished jewelry. One of the nice things with pieces of finished jewelry is it makes it a little bit more portable because you can just wear it. Where when you have when you have gems, I mean, they're still incredibly portable, and that's the wonderful thing about gems and jewelry as an investment. They're the most portable asset. They're the most compact physical form of wealth on the planet, and so you can move them around wherever you want. If you are looking at having jewelry made with some of the gems, right? Of course, we have the gold value there, but what you do need to understand is there's going to be labor involved, which you are not going to be compensated for when you're selling the piece, unless it's done by somebody who becomes kind of famous, or if you're lucky, it goes to auction, and you get more than one person, or two people interested in the piece because of the design, and that makes it a little bit, that makes it sell for more money, and that's something that we definitely do see in the gem business. Is you can actually you can sometimes get up to 10% more for a piece just because you had a great design for it that people like when you are bringing it to auction and selling it to liquidate it for money.
What are some of the other benefits to investing in gems? You're talking about portability. What other aspects of portability are benefits?
So yeah, definitely. So portability is probably one of the biggest reasons that people do invest in gems. And when I say portability, there's a couple of aspects to that. So of course, there's the fact of you have a small piece, and you can have a 20 karat emerald can be worth $10 million, and a 20 karat emerald weighs 4 grams, right? There's 5 carats to a gram, so you're talking about a 4-gram stone that fits in your pocket, and so that is part of the portability. The other part of portability, and this is really important, is that gems are understood to be valuable in every country I know of in the world, right? So if if tomorrow you say, okay, you know what, Canada, we have a tyrannical dictator who's taking over Canada and we got to get out of here. You can go to Singapore. And I mean, I know sounds crazy, but you can go to Singapore and bring the gems there, and you can sell them in Singapore because people in Singapore also understand emeralds and sapphires and rubies and other gems to be precious. And this is a little bit different than art, where you sometimes need to have an audience to purchase it who appreciates what it is you have. So a really good example, probably the best example, would be American folk art. So American folk art in the United States is a very good investment. But if, for example, in 30 years from now, again, let's say, you're in the US, you have your investment in American folk art, and you get a tyrannical dictator, you move to Singapore, and you bring that American folk art to Singapore, well, people in Singapore don't much care about American folk art. So although you had an object that, was worth, let's say, $20,000, and let's say you paid $10,000 for it, and 20 years later it's worth $20,000, and then you go to Singapore and you need to liquidate it, and they say, I have no idea what this is, and you say, it was this artist, and then they say, I have no idea who that is. So gems are wonderfully portable, not only in their size, but because they are understood to be valuable everywhere in the world. Another big reason, so that's with the portability. Another wonderful thing about gems is that they do have a intrinsic value to them. Like I was saying before, there's sapphires going back, we know of sapphire mining going back 30,000 years. This is 20,000 years before farming. And we know that these are going to be valued forever. Right? If we look at past data, we know they're going to be valued forever. Where with a lot of collectibles, again, let's say American folk art, or being in Canada, let's say hockey cards, right? So hockey cards have value, right? There's people who have a certain amount of money in hockey cards, and that is legitimately part of their investment portfolio. But again, if you're going to go, if you were to move to Brazil and you had those, 1968 OPG full set of hockey cards, nobody cares. So again, you have that history behind the gems, and you have that cross-cultural belief in the gems as something that is valuable. Another interesting thing about it is that gems, like I said, have this intrinsic value. They don't go to zero, right? Every investment's a risk. We have all the historical data we have points to gems continuing to go up in price, more or less indefinitely. But even if they don't, even if they go down in value, unlike stocks or bonds, which if the company goes bankrupt, the stocks can go to zero. Depending on the bonds, they can also go to zero. An emerald doesn't go to zero, right? So as kind of a worst case scenario, you buy the emerald for $5,000, and then in 10 years something happened and now it's worth $3,000. Well, that sucks. You really don't want to lose 40%. But you lost 40%, not 100%. And that's, really a pretty big deal for a lot of investors that even though, every investment does have risk, a bit of that risk is mitigated out in that it is a physical item that has an intrinsic value to it.